Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, one of the civic partners for this show. Today we have Greg Hart in the studio with us to talk about the North Country Region Workforce Development Institute. Greg, welcome to North Country Matters.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that.
The Workforce Development Institute is a statewide 501c3 nonprofit that improves the lives of working men and women across New York State by providing targeted programs in workforce, economic, and community development. Right off your website, my friend. The focus is on helping businesses to become and remain successful. That's a key part of the program. And healthy businesses also provide, of course, employment opportunities in New York, and we know we need more of those at every level. So you work to ensure that the investments are in all three areas, workforce, economic, and community development, that those are integrated and they reflect the needs and the perspectives of working men and women. So you're the regional director of the North Country region. First of all, tell us how many workforce development institutes are there in New York State and how the North Country fits into the whole.
Sure. Well, there's 9 economic development regions in the state of New York. Well, there's actually 10. We have 9 regional directors in each one of those regions. I have 8 other colleagues across the state. We cover everything but New York City. So Westchester County, North, and Long Island. That's our footprint. We have sister organizations that cover New York City. So we have a small but nimble staff. We have program people that are in Albany and Troy as our headquarters. We came originally about 12 years ago out of the New York State AFL-CIO, which is a union-based organization. And since then, we have expanded our mission to work with a wide range of other partners. And building strategic partnerships for effective programs, that's sort of where we are. We look at things from a 30,000-foot level, and we're able to be nimble enough to look at how programs go and deliver programs on the ground level. So I cover 7 counties up here in the North Country. I also have some statewide responsibilities regarding economic development. And that approach that we're taking is relatively new over the last few years, where we're looking at the 3 legs of the stool, community development, economic development, and workforce development, as being one approach, 3 parts of one approach. And that is to take a high road approach to be inclusive, to build a vibrant economy where people want to live and raise families. And that's what I've sought to do here in the North Country region over the last few years. I've been with the organization 6 years now. I lived in Syracuse for 35 years. I came up here in 2006 and we relocated back to the North Country, originally from up here. And I had a lot of experience in Syracuse in different areas, whether it be manufacturing, education and training programs, as well as building and construction. And I wanted to utilize those skills. And one of the reasons I was brought up here was because this is a region that had not been explored before. We hadn't a regional director up here. People from the Thruway Belt were responsible for the North Country, but they never really came up here.
Kind of the what happens all too often in places that are a little bit marginalized because of geography or because of barriers.
Because of geography, because of barriers, because of the snow belt, because of
people only want to come here for 5 months of the year.
I know. Well, it's beautiful up here during those 5 months. Whether it be a dense population or a sparse population versus a high density area. So there's a lot of interesting things regarding where things that we could learn from the North Country region that translates to rural communities across New York. So, Canton, New York, Messina, New York, Hewelton aren't that much different in Cattaraugus County or Delaware County, other counties across the state. What can we learn about rural communities that can be translated to the state overall, and how we can be effective in those 3 areas that I talked about. The second one was the Adirondack Park itself. That was a main interest of putting a regional director in here, and to learn about the Adirondack Park, some of the issues surrounding the Adirondacks. But it's basically a rural issue as well,
right.
You know, because communities in the Adirondack Park are facing perhaps a little bit higher level of stress to their communities and their budgets, and you know how,
and a corresponding lack of outside development for a whole lot of reasons that can't go into the park.
Absolutely.
Right.
So there's just one additional level, and that happens to be the restrictions of land use within the Blue Line. But I wanted to learn a lot about this, and that was one of my missions coming into this job, and I was so glad to get that. Where we started on manufacturing, I know this is going to be a conversation that we're going to talk a lot about manufacturing. I came from a manufacturing background, and where we have come from has been, we explored what the opportunities were going to be in manufacturing. This conversation and our focus started a few years ago as we were doing statewide conferences looking at manufacturing. Even before the Great Recession, we saw that there was going to be significant mismatches in the number of job openings versus the number of available people that can do those jobs. In other words, there's a problem in the talent pipeline
Right.
for companies, and it was masked to some degree during the Great Recession because there were a number of people out of work, the high unemployment rates. There was
and a corresponding lack of business capital to develop and
Absolutely.
create new jobs. So
Absolutely.
you had those two things working.
Those two things work hand in hand. There were no robust expansions and new companies coming in. So there was now we're seeing, especially over the last year, since recovery has started to build some momentum, shortages. And it's some of the programs that we conceived and put into place and talked about for a couple of years, 3 years or so. Now we're really starting to be engaged in that and looking at how we can provide avenues of opportunities for workers, especially incumbent workers, which is really our sweet spot. Incumbent workers to move up into organizations, bring some credentialing to them, and offer them some opportunities to move up, and then open the doors for entry-level workers.
One of the things it sounds like is because you have split the state into 9 regions, that you really can fine-tune what is going on in each one of those regions, and yet take the lessons you've learned and apply them somewhere else where maybe an opportunity is just starting, and that you've had some experience, or one of your colleagues has had some experience. So you've got those specific regions and needs, and you're trying to meet those needs. When I took a look at your website, it was very obvious that the Workforce Development Institute is really on the cutting edge of changes in manufacturing, which we know because of technology, there's a lot of opportunity there. And that you're working to train workers to meet those needs. So let's talk a little bit about some of the projects and the programs that you've overseen up here to meet the needs of local employers, and how you work through that process and who you can partner with to make those changes.
Well, one of the big ones that I think was very successful, and it just completed over the last spring semester, was Programmable Logic Controller training that we pulled together with SUNY Canton. And this came out of a need that we had heard across the region. Now, Programmable Logic Controllers are the computerized modules that control processing, packaging, automated systems in factories and in shops.
Robotics?
It
Robotic
could,
manufacturing lines, maybe?
Just even packaging.
Okay.
If you're doing packaging, picture yogurt, picture cream cheese. All the different manufacturers across the region having these same sort of issues. And even building controls, like in this building right here. So understanding what the next every so often the controllers get upgraded. So understanding what that ladder logic is, understanding how those controllers work, and troubleshooting that. That is a really key thing for manufacturers. So we had this idea, we had this need. BOCES had brought it up. SUNY Canton came to the table. SUNY Canton had an instructor that was willing to do this, and that's another thing. We have to find instructors that are willing to do this, and the subject matter experts are really key. So hats off to SUNY Canton, and they had a facility, they were willing to do that. So the next thing was to round up a number of employers and assist them in training funds. We have some training funds available. We were able to assist those folks to send people. And so we had probably 6 employers willing to send 2 or 3 people. Now, this cooperative model, we didn't invent it. We're just promoting it. And we're bringing people together that hadn't necessarily worked together before or had a comfort level of sending people. So you've seen a number of times where training is called off because of lack of enrollment. To be more proactive, to pull employers in, to make sure that they know this opportunity. That was the success of this particular training program, which we are looking at this model across the state, and others have done it. Other regional directors have looked at this, but it takes a little bit of work because you need to get their comfort level up and
build the trust.
And
the communication, the open communication lines, which takes a while.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that was a good one. Smart boards. So we always talk about upgrading those worker skills. So at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, they have a training facility in Plattsburgh, a beautiful JATC, and one in Watertown. And so they're always investing with their NECA contractors in upgrading those facilities. So they went to whiteboards. And in whiteboards, that's not what the instructors had been comfortable with. So we wanted to upgrade those instructors so that they can then work with the journey workers and the apprentices to upgrade their skills as well. So we were able to do that last year as they're upgrading that. And that was successful. So that's another way of investing in upgrading. Something a little bit different approach that we had was looking at strategic planning for the St. Regis Mohawk tribe for cultural tourism. This came out of a conversation that I wanted to start establishing a relationship with the economic developers at the St. Regis Mohawk tribe. And we started talking about the first thing that came out was the need for some sort of pulling together of different folks to address cultural tourism. And they've done some studies before that on that. We wanted to do a more inclusive approach to look at how people can engage in this approach of locally produced high-quality products, which we're seeing across this region, but specifically looking at the culture of the Mohawks. And we just recently had a experience Akwesasne at the St. Regis, or at the Akwesasne Mohawk Casino, and all the folks from the tribe on both sides of the river were able to get behind this as an effort to promote the cultural tourism and the asset that we have regionally in the tribe, and is proud to play a part of that. So that's a little bit different than what we're doing, but in the basis of it is to engage the community in a direction that can lead to sustainability.
So you take people where they are and then help them to achieve the next level, but in order to do that, you really have to understand not only the economy of the area that you're working in, but as you say now, adding in the cultural piece. And that's really an exciting opportunity because it's not one of these one-size-fits-all models that's from the top down. It's really from the bottom up.
Exactly.
And in order to do that, you've really got to be very aware of exactly what the dynamics in each community are and where the strengths and the weaknesses are and how you can mitigate some of the weaknesses and build on those strengths. So that's very interesting. 3 very different kinds of projects that all lead to that economic development that helps workers and helps employers and certainly makes the region, as you say, more self-sufficient. One of the things that I was very intrigued by in your focus on specific parts of the workforce is your video that concerns women of the workforce.
Yep.
And we know from studies and projections in the workplace that STEM jobs are the high-paying jobs of the future, and that there's going to be an increasing need for people who can do that kind of work. There aren't enough students in that pipeline now. So talk a little bit about how what you do can increase the number of people in that pipeline and create some new opportunities in high-paying fields, which we really could use some more of here in the North Country.
We absolutely can. In our support of women and women's issues regarding women of the workforce, our initiative that we've all embraced across the state, we've looked at opportunities that we have across our regions and look at programs that can support that. And we're as innovative as we possibly can be about it. We've supported women and minority business enterprises training. We're going to continue to do that to get more women in minority businesses certified that they can then bid on contracts through the government. We look at some key training, other key training that we have looked at, and one of them is Annie's Project, which is a great project, and it's with our partnership with Cornell Cooperative Extension. And we've had 4 or 5 counties, 3 counties this past year participating in our North Country region on helping women entrepreneurs in dairy. And it's agriculture, but some have been in dairy, some have been in other agricultural enterprises. And it's helping them become better on with every kind of tool that we can give them. So it's providing those type of tools, whether it be through training programs, through the building and construction trades, advocating for more women getting into the building trades. That's always been something that we've supported and supported loudly. And our building and construction trades folks listen and do that. So it's trying to set the table for more high-level opportunities for women to get and start businesses and work in the construction trades and other trades.
Get people out of what is euphemistically called the pink collar jobs,
Right.
and get them into the blue collar jobs, and because that's where the money is in a lot of these STEM opportunities and in some of these business owning opportunities. And it is hard to get your foot in the door. And we're lucky because we do have a small business office over at SUNY Canton,
Right.
and I know that they do at least one program a year specifically targeted for women business owners. But
Right.
you know, it's nice to see this program that can work hand in glove with some of these other programs. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk with you about, Greg, was the changing nature of the work world. One of the things that we've seen is an increase in temporary employment. And temporary workers aren't just Kelly girls answering the phone and sorting the mail anymore. In fact, 42% of the temporary workers now labor in light industry and warehouses.
Right.
So that's something that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is tracking. And so what do you see in that sense up here? Are you seeing an increase in temp work as well in these fields? And how can your organization help to address that and turn those into permanent jobs?
That is a very difficult question. And from my assessment and I do meet with a lot of businesses, many businesses utilize temporary workers going in for light industrial work. We're not a region that has a lot of warehousing. There are warehouses, of course, but this isn't a big warehousing region as opposed to where there are huge ports. So there isn't that group of workers temping. George Ganos over at SUNY Canton did a lot of work on warehousing workers, and as a sociologist and as a labor activist. And we have really paid a lot of attention to this. A lot of employers utilize temporary workers to what they refer to as level load the shop. So if orders come in seasonally, if orders come in irregularly, they can call in temporary workers to help level the production needs with the manpower, with the human resource. We don't really like that, our organization. We like to have folks hired direct because that has that commitment. And if it's an organization that does have a lot of temporary workers in there doing that work, it's not generally an organization we want to work with. We're interested in providing that leg up. We're interested in credentialing people. And in a way, if we do that with temporary workers, we're also giving them something that's mobile. We're giving them a recognized credential that does move them up. So to answer your question, we have done some national work readiness credentialing with workers that are emerging workers or dislocated workers, more than incumbent workers, because we want them to have that ability to bring that with them wherever they go. But I have seen less of the temporary workforce than permanent. I've seen more permanent workers being hired direct, and the reason is now that there's more pressure. There is some pressure in the labor markets for the workforce, even going down to entry-level workers. So if I don't hire you and somebody else puts an ad in, they're going to hire you direct. You're going to go to the direct hire. It also, the one thing it does for employers, obviously, is it gives them a trial basis for an employee. And it gets them to look at that employee for an extended interview period. That is something that they like. It's not necessarily something that's good for the worker because they're always on their best behavior.
Right.
So to
One of the
speak,
things that we also know that that can be a problem with temporary workers is that they could have a higher incident of an accident on the job.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that the Workforce Development Institute can do is offer safety training on an as-needed basis or proactively, right?
Yes, absolutely. We've always looked at health and safety issues as absolutely key in our approach to helping workers on the job. And some would say that that's not something that is a job creation or a job retention issue. I say it's completely a job retention issue because a worker that's safe on the job is not only safe for themselves and going to be safe for their families, they're going to be safe for the person that's working next to them. And that is a job retention. It's a safety issue. It's a productivity issue. And so we've supported the area companies all across the board and across the state in OSHA 10, whether it be for general industry, whether it be for construction work. We've certified a lot of people in OSHA 10, both on the construction side and on the business side. We've looked at things like arc flash. We've looked, if someone comes to us with a specific type of training, we're all about it. And it's given us this opportunity to also pull in other employers too. So if we're doing an arc flash for one, we asked them if they could invite in workers over at this other facility to bring them over. And I've been successful in 2 of those. So it's taking that cooperative model again, using safety as the common denominator and saying, safety, we all are interested in that. We want to make sure our workers
And it makes
are safe.
a lot of sense because of how expensive it is to train workers. The last thing you want to do is lose a trained worker to an accident and then have to start all over again with that expensive training.
Absolutely.
One of the things that caught my eye this summer was an article that was in the paper about the MASH camp, and I noticed that that you folks were one of the sponsors of the MASH camp. So talk a little bit about what the MASH camp is and what it's designed to do, and why you are involved in it in particular.
The MASH camps came out of a conversation I had with the Fort Drum Regional Health Planning Organization, which is a terrific organization, and they're also a nonprofit. And they work with the organizations that, the healthcare organizations surrounding Fort Drum, providing them with a vibrant workforce and pathways to healthcare careers, and also addressing, because there's no critical care facility on post. So all the area hospitals cooperate in some way with this, and that's what Fort Drum Regional Health Planning Organization does. And so my conversations with them talked about how they lost their funding for the MASH camps. And we've done it 2 sessions. We did last winter, and we did this summer. And I love the MASH camps, and it takes students from all surrounding districts, and it's Jefferson, it's Lewis, and Governor Hospital. So we have 3 counties. We have students that are interested or exploring or have been committing to some area of healthcare, and bringing them into the facility for some real experience right there at the facility. And the leadership from Fort Drum is great. They're mentors. They have people in the hospital that line up and want to show their particular skill to these students, and it can be from 9 to 11th grade going into seniors. This is perfect. This is perfect because it's giving young people that opportunity to look at what these jobs are going to be. Maybe this isn't something that they thought about. Maybe it's something that they really get excited about and want to explore more. And along the same lines, we're having tomorrow actually is Career Jam is in Watertown, and WDI has helped sponsor that. And these are 9th graders, incoming freshmen. At 1,500 of them are going to be at the Watertown Fairgrounds from all over the area, and they're going to be doing exploration in 7 different career paths. And I thought this was a great thing to get behind, because if you can grab people going into the 9th grade, young people thinking about where they're going to go and what type of career, and put their hands on things, this is the way you're going to build a robust workforce. This is how you fill the pipeline, to engage people into different opportunities and different avenues to go.
And one of the things that's really nice about the healthcare area is that if you're in Watertown, you can do nurses training at JCC. You can do it if you're at this end. You can do it at Canton College. And here at Clarkson, we have physical therapy and the new physician's assistance program. So there's really opportunities for North Country kids to get interested when they're in high school, stay right here through their college career, and then turn around and go right into the workforce, which we're an underserved area in the North Country.
Absolutely.
So if we can find those kids who want to go into those jobs and stay here, it's a terrific opportunity. Well, Greg, surprisingly enough, we've come to the end of our half hour.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it doesn't take very long, does it? So I appreciate you coming in. It's been very interesting to learn more about what you do, and hopefully more employers and more workers and more people thinking about economic development are all going to come into your orbit and make this, this expand. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
So our time is up. Thank you. These conversations are a production of North Country Matters, produced here in the studios of WCKN on the campus of Clarkson University. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, and the Communications and Media Department here at Clarkson University. Until next time, please remember, our North Country matters.